Cosy Country here in partnership with Cosy Owl. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make wax melts with an embedded shape using Deli pots. So let's get going.
So let's run through what we've got. I have my 800 grams of soy pillar wax. I have a heart-shaped mould. I also have a couple of little Deli pots here. And I have some gold glitter here, along with some of my red dye just for the hearts. I have a champagne and roses fragrance oil in 50 millilitres. And I also have 2 pots along with my wooden spoon and my thermometer, and then a little electric weighing scale too. So for the initial stage, I'm going to measure out 500 grams of the soy pillar wax here. Later on I will be splitting this out just because I want to do my hearts in a different colour. So for now I'm just going to melt it all in one pot. So 500 grams is going to go into here. So now the wax is all measured up, I'm just going to pop a couple of inches of boiling water in the bottom of this pan, ready for my little boiler to go in there as well. I'll keep coming back and giving it a good stir around. I've just got it on a medium heat because I don't want the water to bubble over too much as well, with it already being pre-boiled too. So I'll just keep coming back and giving it a good stir around just to help it melt through quickly and evenly. And I'll keep my eye on the temperatures as well because I don't want it getting too hot either. So I'll just keep coming back and giving it a good stir. So while my wax is melting, I'm just going to start measuring out my fragrance here. I have 50 ml of the champagne and roses here. I'm just going to measure it out into this ramekin just to make sure that I do get the absolute correct measurement. I will be measuring out my fragrance twice just because I'm going to be splitting out the wax once it's all melted. So this first one, I'm just going to measure out 25 millilitres, which is just shy of 8%. I don't want it to be too strong, and this fragrance is really strong anyway. It packs a real good punch, so I don't need too much in there. So just jumping back over to check on the wax, and as you can see it's melted nice and evenly all the way through. So I'm just going to take a quick temperature check here because, like I said, I didn't want it to get too hot because I do have a flash point on my fragrance which is 94 degrees Celsius. So I've turned the heat off and I'm just taking a quick temperature check. And as you can see, I am a little bit over here. I do want that to cool down a little bit before I do add my fragrance. So I'm just going to take it out of the water. There's no heat on this other hob here. So I'll just take it out for a couple of minutes just to let it cool down. I'll come back and check it later. So now it has cooled down a little bit. I've popped it just back in the pan for now. I'm just going to do another quick temperature check just to see where we're up to. Once I have a quick look, I'll just show you what the temperature is. It has cooled right down now, so I'm at about 61 there, so I'm okay to start adding my fragrance. But first and foremost, I want to swap over into my other little pouring jug. So I'm going to pour 150 grams of the melted wax with no fragrance in just into this little pouring jug here. You can add your fragrance already if you want to, it's up to you, but I want to add some dye to my pouring jug as well, so I just haven't added my fragrance just yet. So I've added 150 grams into this pouring jug, so that's nicely split out now. Now I'm ready to add my fragrance. So I have my 25 milliliters of fragrance just going into the big pot here, and I'm going to give it a really good stir around and just pop it on a really low heat just to make sure that I don't lose too much of the temperature here because I don't want it to go too cold. I find that using soy wax it can go a little bit grainy, so I just like to keep on top of the temperature here, but I won't be going anywhere near the flash point because once you do, that's when your fragrance will start to evaporate from the wax, so you don't want to go anywhere near that. And like I said, mine is 94 degrees Celsius in here. So now I've given my big pot a really good mix around, and now I'm ready to add the dye to my little pouring jug. So as you can see, I've got my red dye here, and it's a really small measurement of wax that I've got in the pouring jug here. Like I said, it's 150 grams, so I'm only going to take a little pinch of the red dye. I do want it to be really vibrant, but this dye, I've used it before, I know it's a really vibrant colour anyway, so you don't need to use too much here. So I'll just give that big pot a really good stir around just one more time, and then I'm going to swap them over and pop my little pouring jug into the heat here, but I'll just take a quick temperature check and then I'll swap the pots over. That way I can start warming up the wax in the pouring jug and my dye will start to melt nicely. So I will keep giving that a really good stir through. Just be gentle with it. You don't want to create any air pockets in there. So then just give it a really good stir around and you should be good to go. Just make sure you're satisfied with it and make sure all of it has melted through. I've taken the heat off the hob now as well, so it is just the water that's keeping the wax nice and hot. So now I'm happy with the way that my dye has melted all the way through my wax. I've measured out another 10 millilitres of the fragrance oil just to go into this little pot here, and I'll give it a really good stir around like I did my big pot, just so that the fragrance goes all the way through the wax, and that should help out with the dye as well. So that should be nice and evenly stirred. Now let's get to the good bit. It's time to pour the wax into the moulds. So I am happy to pour this wax anywhere between 60 and 65 degrees. I'm not pouring all the way up to the edge of the mould either, because I don't want these wax melts to be too thick, because there's a little sort of lip in between all the segments in the deli pots the wax melts are going to sit on top of, so I just don't want them to go over too much because I won't be able to put my lids on. So I'm just going to pour part the way up and they should be good to go. Once they're poured, I'm just going to pop my glitter into the bottom of the deli pots here. I absolutely love this glitter, it's so effective. So I'm just going to pop a little bit into the bottom of the deli pots before I pour my wax, and then they should sit nicely just at the bottom of the deli pots as well. So once the wax has cooled in there, you should be able to see them on the flip side. So now they're good to go. I'm going to pour this wax as well, and this is around 60 degrees too that I'm pouring this wax. And again, I'm not pouring all the way up just yet, because I do have my little hearts to add on top, and then they will be able to embed into the leftover wax too. So I'm just going to pour part the way up and then leave these for around half an hour, 45 minutes, just to cool down, and the wax will start to set, and then the hearts will be able to be unmoulded and popped inside the deli pots too. So I will come back to those in roughly half an hour to 45 minutes. Now I'm ready to unmould my little hearts, and they've taken to the mould really, really well. They are beautiful and the exact colour that I wanted. So I'm just going to pop these into the middle of the deli pots, and I'm going to remelt my wax, ready to embed these little hearts into the deli pots. Now I've remelted my wax, I'm going to pour it at the same temperature as my first pour, which is roughly 60 degrees. And I'm just going to pour really slowly, gently around the edge, just so I'm not going anywhere near the little heart. And as you can see, the heart is nicely in place. It's not going to melt into the other hot wax, so this is going to look really, really sweet, and that's just going to embed the heart into the deli pot as well. And then once that's done, I'm going to grab my glitter and I'm just going to scatter it over the top, just for a little bit of extra decoration, because why not? Everything looks better with glitter on. And the glitter will move itself around as well in the wax, which is really nice because it's got like a really random spread then, so they all look completely different. But yeah, I absolutely love these, and then I will leave these overnight before I can even start using them, because the fragrance does need time to settle into the wax, and the wax does need time to shrink properly too. So as you can see, I left mine for a couple of days and they are perfect. I absolutely love the little hearts on the bottom as well, just that extra bit of decoration. They come out of the deli pots nice and easy as well, so I can just break that off, and as you can see, 2 pieces have come off, and then I'll just break an extra bit off because I won't need that much on top of my little burner here. So just take a tea light and light your little tea light and pop it underneath, and you should be good to go. It shouldn't take too long to melt and make your house smell incredible. So there you have it. Ta-da!